This time we're going to make a bolster, or a, well, as I call them, a Roman cushion, which means that it's round. Now there's lots of ways of doing this, and you'll see there are lots of videos out there showing you how to cut enough fabric and measure it to make a round end and this, that and the other. Yeah, we're going to get there, but in the past I have used a bolster cushion, which I've had to buy, and they're not cheap, and then another time I just stuffed it, and then it was a bit lumpy. So this time I thought we'd do something completely new. Now I've got an 18-inch pillow here, as you can see by that corner. They're never square, but anyway, so I'm going to start, turn it round, and I'm going to start by taking what I consider to be the smaller end and rolling it around. Okay, so I just rolled it up. Then I'm going to take some tape. Oh, this is where you probably want 3 or 4 hands. But I'm just going to take some tape and hold it for a second. And the same with the other end. And just tape the other end. This is just a painter's low tack tape. Okay, just to sort of like hold it, so I can look at it and say, well, let me see, is that more or less as fat as I want it, and can I let it out a bit here and there to give this nice rounded shape. So this allows you to sort of make your rounded, more or less rounded shape. So when you're happy with it, yeah, then I suggest you pull off a long bit of tape, and without squashing it any further, just make that go round to keep it in position. So now we've ended up with a rounded pillow form. Oops, wrong way up. A rounded pillow form, you know what these are like, which is approximately 18 inches long. If I do it from the other side, yeah, you can see it's strictly 17, but we're going to pretend it's 18, okay, because pillows forms should be 18, right? Oh, these should be, but they're not. So I've just prepared that, so it's going to have a bit of memory of that while I put it to one side. These are the 2 fabrics that I'm going to use. This lovely blue, and obviously Lewis and Irene, which matches everything else I've been doing for our bathroom makeover. So those are the fabrics that I'm going to be using, and I'm also going to be using some Bolster foam. Now this is Bolster foam. Doesn't matter that it's creased up, because with Bolster foam, or with Annie's Soft and Sable, you just don't touch the fabric, but you steam over it, and the foam puffs back up and you wouldn't know you had a crease. So I'm going to be using some of that. Now if you don't have this, and I'm using it because I want to give my outside of my pillow a really smooth finish. If you don't have that, then the other thing you can use is some heat and bond fusible fleece. Okay, it's not as thick as the foam, obviously, but as you can see, this is fusible, it will give a smooth finish to the fabric. And a bit of stiffness to the finished pillow. I'm also going to quilt mine. I'm only going to do diagonal crosses. So when I cut my piece, and I'm going to cut it bigger, I'm going to cut it 19. Oops, and what we haven't done is figured out the circumference. So let's take that now, and the tape measure, and just figure out for a moment what the circumference is going to be. So the circumference on mine, yet again, is 18 inches. So that works out all right, doesn't it? And obviously we need to add on another inch, 19 inches, for the 1/2 inch seam allowance. So we already know that this is roughly 17 on mine, but I'm going to call it 19 because I know that when I end up doing the crisscross hash top stitch on it, that the fabrics will shrink a bit when I can just cut it down to size when I've finished. So I'm going to cut a piece of foam and a piece of fabric that measure 19 by 19, nice and square. I showed you cutting with the 2 ruler method in the round pillow cover, the round cushion cover. So I will link that in the description below. But so if you want to use the 2 ruler method, if you don't have any other way of doing it, I will show you how to cut 19 inches down your fabric using 2 rulers. Well, I show you how to make a 9-inch cut, but obviously you just need to use a thicker ruler, like a 12-inch square, 12-inch square up ruler with the 6.5-inch ruler. 12.5 and 6.5 will make you 19. You don't have to do 19, it depends on what your roll is, but if you use a 12.5-inch square up ruler and then your long 6.5-inch ruler underneath, you will come down 19 inches from your fabric. But of course I don't do it like that because I am able to use my favourite ruler again, which is the Creative Grids Stripology ruler. So I just plop that on. My edges here are not quite straight, so I'm coming into where they are straight, where they all fit under my 0-0 line. Straightening up my ruler. Taking my 0-0 cut. Now I'm going to go all the way through the 42-inch width because I am going to make 2 of these bolsters. So I am just going to cut myself a 19-inch strip of the whole width of fabric. Okay. That's my end squared up, and that's the end of my material. Now I need to subcut this now because obviously I want to. So I will cut off, start this end so I can cut off this fold, and I'll just fold it the other way because I am actually making a square, aren't I? 19 by 19. Bring my 0-0 line in just slightly from the selvage, making sure that I am square all along the bottom. Cut my selvage off, oops, moved the ruler, down 19 inches and cut off the folded ends which now means obviously that's the fold. Keep that for buttons or whatever. Throw the scrap away, and now I should have a square, 2 squares, because I'm making 2 pillows. And I know I was wrong last time when I said that, but I literally am making 2 of these pillows now. So but 1 piece is enough, because obviously that's the circumference around the pillow, and I'll show you what we do for the edges later on. So the next thing I need to do is to take my piece of Bozel, and hopefully it'll fit. If not, I've got more. Oh, I could be a lucky puppy here. Smooth that over. If I'm right on one edge, then I am literally 1/4 inch out on the other edge. So I'm not gonna quibble over that. So I'm just gonna get, I mean, obviously I would do it perfectly if I had a perfect sized piece, or if I wanted to go open a new packet, but I might as well use what I've got as I go along. So I'm just literally cutting the Bozel to the same width as that piece. Alright, so you can see now the Bozel fits. I am 1/4 inch hanging over one edge. Alright, so now what I'm going to go and do, first thing I'm going to do before I make any markings is I'm going to do an 1/8 inch, because this is not fusible. So I'm going to make an 1/8 inch stitch all around the perimeter that holds my fabric to the Bozel. While I'm over at the machine, if I turn it over for you, you can see that I got a bit of a crease in it. So I will just steam that crease while I'm over there on the iron. Alright, so I've just come back from sewing this. So I've done, this is a bit more than 1/4 inch, because remember I had a bit of an overhang, a bit more than 1/8 inch, but I've just tacked all the way round, 1/8 inch everywhere else. So, and that's a bit more, because again, you know, I'm slightly manipulating my fabric here, but an 1/8 inch, yeah. So that's what I do, which means that this is now stuck to that. You can buy fusible Bozel, but I don't get on with fusibles because I end up with ripples in the material, and I really don't like it. So I would rather sew the damn thing on myself. Now on this side, you can see the line where there was a crease. If I bring it up to you, I don't know which is the best way to show you, but there is no crease there anymore. There was a crease that went along here as well. You can see where I steamed it, and a bit of muck has come out of my iron. But so there was a crease along there as well, but I steamed it, crease is gone, so that's perfectly normal now. The crease did look like this, and the sideways crease, can you see that there, did look like that. So see the sideways crease. Anyway, all gone now, quick steam, all forgotten. Right, so back to, let's work this right way up so that I know that I've got my birds the right way up, and using it's not quite long enough, is it? Using my best judgment then, on corner to corner, and a Chaco pen, because well, let's see how we go with this. I'm going to use a Chaco pen, see if I can see the line. Yeah, can. You probably can't. So let's find something else that you can see. Back on my line again now. This is friction, so naturally it irons out. Can you see that now? Yeah, and then what I will be doing, when I can figure out my ruler, is 2 inches. So I'm going to put the 1/2 inch line on my line. Yeah. And then 2 inches away, because I don't want it to be huge. I don't want it to be tiny, tiny crisscross. Well, I'm going to see what it looks like. I am going to go and mark the fabric in that fashion all the way across. Yeah, so even they're not easy to see. One line there, one line there, one line there. Yeah, and then when I finish doing that, then I will come the opposite direction. And again, my 1/2 inch with my 2.5 inch ruler, or if you're using another one, then 2 inches away from the drawn line. So I'm making 2 inch crisscrosses, hatches, on the diagonal, which is going to give me a diamond shape. Are you beginning to see it? Can you see this diamond? Yeah, that's all I'm doing. So I'm gonna plop, make sure I'm on the right line. Yep. So both directions, I'm going to mark up my fabric, and again this irons off friction pen. Do not use a felt tip friction pen for this. It will leave a mark in your fabric. So I'm just going to do this all the way through, and then I'm going to use, I think I could do it in a blue, but I think that's a bit too obvious. So I'm going to use a grey, and I'm going to do these cross hatches in just grey top stitch, probably about 3. So it's a bigger stitch, and let's see how that looks when I come back to you. Okay, so I just brought this back from the machine. I'll just let the camera settle a minute. I get a new camera tomorrow, and then it won't flipping sway. Right. I've given it a quick steam mover to get rid of my pen marks. And I don't know whether you can see it, but I've used quite a dark grey because I want it to be fairly visible. But there's the diagonal, well, diamond crossing 2 inches apart, which I drew on, followed a straight line. I'll turn it over because it's more apparent from the other side, isn't it? So there, it's white on the back. I've got white in the bottom. So, ooh, Lordy Moses, it's a good job I did that. Look, I've missed a line. Oh, I've actually missed a line. Oh, silly, silly Billy. A minute. Don't take 2 seconds to put that right. I'll just put my 1/2 inch mark on the line I've already sewn, and just oopy doopy do draw that back in, and I need to sew that. Let me just check that then. Have I missed any other? No, I just missed that line, didn't I? Oh, silly me. Anyway, while we're on the subject, there's something I want to say. And this is for people that are fairly new to sewing, and you might think, well, she's drawn, how do you sew a line that straight? Yeah? Well, it's practice, practice, practice. When you first learn to ride your bike, your front wheel wobbled all over the place, didn't it? Like as you did the pedals, your bike went like this, didn't it? Yeah? And then you got better at it and you could do a smoother ride. But then when you stood up on your saddle, stood up and went a bit faster with a bit more momentum, then the front wheel started to wobble again. But as you got better at that, you could keep it in a straight line. So it's a bit like riding a bike. It's coordination. The more you do it, the better you are. Okay, so I went off and I redid that line. Now, I remember we started at 19, didn't we, square. Now we're I've lost 1, 2, 3/8 of an inch that way, and I've lost 3 inches 8 that way. And that's what happens when you quilt. It does get smaller, but that's why I deliberately made it bigger. But what I want now, I'm not finished shaping this yet. It's still, to me, it's still a bit out of shape, but we'll come back to that. So I'm getting this bit now, and I'm just rethinking 17, and I want half. So I actually want it 18 inches. So I'm going to cut. I'm going to look at my best side. I think that's probably the best side. So I'm going to cut 1 inch. I'm going to cut 1 inch. She says. She works out how to do it. 19. I'm going to cut 1 inch off this one end. Sacrilege. But I've done it. Look, see, there it goes. Right, okay, so it doesn't matter because it's all, well, mine is all quilted down now. So I've cut 1 inch off of that. So that's the width. You know, it always pays to double check as you go along what you're doing. So circumference wise now, and obviously I'm concerned that my fabric is the right way up, you know, because that's a bit of a must, isn't it? I don't want my birds going sideways. So my circumference, without squashing it down, don't need to because I got such a firm base now. I'm checking it again. Yes, it is 18 inches. So ½ inch seam allowance on there, 19, but just under. So that's good enough for me. Now the next thing that we need to do is to make some piping. Put this out of the way for a moment. Get my blue out that I want to use. Lovely blue. And I would say to you, I refer you now to the video that's up on the site, Crafty So-and-so's YouTube site. I'll link it beneath, and it's you know, making ring piping, making cord piping. But I will link the video so you can see. I've done it in white for the round cushions that we were making. I don't know where they've gone. They're in the other room, I think. But now I'm going to do this blue piping for this cushion. So I'm going to make, I need, the circumference is 19, so I'm going to make about 24 inches twice for the piping, which, and again it's the same size cord, so it'll be a 2-inch strip on the bias, and I want them both to be about 24 inches so that I got plenty to cut off. And also I'll refer you to covering the buttons video, because I'm going to do covered buttons in this navy blue to go on the ends of the cushion as well. There's a bit more something we need to do about the stuffing first, but we'll come back to that.